let me give you the best, that I can think of, what I know in my world, bring those best practices to you. And I try to make them somewhat practical. So you can start to apply it now. So as Dom was saying, that, come spring, you can actually have some tools, additional tools in your repository as you develop yourselves as leaders. So I was given a little bit of creative license on how I wanted to spin this topic on the art of facilitation. So, my fine point on that idea is how to facilitate a discussion to get to get meaningful insights for any kind of an objective. So you're going to find yourself in different situations where you're going to be moderating or facilitating conversations that have sort of a different end goal. The tools to be a great facilitator are the same. Okay, so I'll kind of take you on that journey as we go. All right, what is a what are we doing here? What's facilitation? What's a facilitator? What's the goal of a facilitated discussion? I look at facilitation is a facilitator. What I do is just the host of a conversation. I'm not the central focus of the conversation. I'm just hosting it. I'm trying to have a conversation get going so that there's an interesting exchange of ideas and we can come away with something of value for that meets our objectives, whatever that objective might be. That's a little bit of a clunky definition, but hopefully that'll start to become more clear to you as we get into like some of the specifics. So people like me are facilitators. I am a contractor, I'm a consultant, I am a qualitative researcher, I'm an educator. Every one of your professors who is standing up in front of you every, in your classes, they're facilitating a conversation so that you will get something of value out of it, right? Facilitators can work in corporate America. They could work for nonprofits and other associations. They might work for the federal government. Every role that there is, you will find anybody who's really leading projects and needing to, corral people together to get some sort of insight, that's your facilitator. Sometimes they're leading meetings. Sometimes they're leading projects. Sometimes their colleagues are watching them. Or in my case, oftentimes it's my clients that are watching them. Do you guys ever see Law and Order? Right? So, whenever they always have the screen, the window, the one-way mirror. So I'm the guy in the front in the room with the respondents, right? And then I have my clients in the back room who are just making sure I'm getting some sort of interesting insights that they can do something with. So there's a little bit more pressure on me sometimes, but also a little bit less pressure on me sometimes in that role because I don't have skin in the game, in that I could ask anything and whatever I hear is fine. It's the truth. My job is to report on the truth. So, sometimes there's, you need an independent facilitator to come in and get you something really interesting and not afraid to go there, or we know politically you can't ask that. I don't know any of that. So I just go in and, get my hands dirty and, with questions, and I hear messy answers. And then I turn it over to my client and they have to do something with it. Okay. So, anyway, so there's different pressures, I would say, depending on your role in the organization and how what you're brought in to do. So a little bit about me. I teach. I've been at Reinhardt as an adjunct professor since the fall of 2017. I teach in the Communications and Media Department. Please look me up, and if you are looking for something to sign up for in the spring. So I have a couple more COM 108 courses that a lot of the principles I'm teaching here tonight, if you like my vibe, then look me up and get yourself registered for one of my courses. I have 108, I teach in the mornings mostly. So effective communications, I have an 8 o'clock class and a 9 o'clock class in the spring. I'm going to be teaching research methods, very much a lot of the things that we're going to be looking at tonight from a qualitative perspective. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 o'clock. I'm teaching advertising principles. I spent the last 20 years of my career in advertising, writing advertising strategy, getting consumer insights. and, you know, figuring out what brands need to say to people to make the cash register ring, so to speak. So it's persuasive speaking. So you can take me for advertising at 8 o'clock in the morning, or you can take me for organizational communications. So 5 classes coming up. Please look me up if you like what you see. Okay. So like I said, I consult. I have you know, a career in advertising and strategic communications. But I also facilitate. I started my career as a facilitator. I worked in market research for about 6 years, doing qualitative and quantitative research, just gathering insights, talking to people, holding focus groups or IDIs. It stands for in-depth interviews, kind of one-on-ones, where I can really get at interesting insights. So why did I just bother to tell you all that stuff about myself? Do I need to really blow smoke about who I am and why I'm so awesome? No, no, that's not the point of it. What I need to do, and even though Dom did a wonderful job introducing me, I need to establish myself as somebody who you can trust, right? Somebody with the creds, somebody who know that I've done, you know, I've done the work, I'm bringing you the goods. So for a variety of reasons. One, you need to know right out of the gate that you're in competent hands. That I'm here to, you know, I know what I'm talking about, that you're going to come away in the next, you know, 42 minutes from now with some really meaningful learning that, you know, you've expanded your, you know, your life as a result of your time, a little bit of time here with me tonight. Okay. So you want, that's going to have you as an audience kind of like, okay, you got my listening, right? I have to earn that. Just like if you were up here in front of the room giving your presentation, you have to earn that, you know, to really get our listening. So that's what I'm trying to do for you here with that introduction. Then also I need to bring you something of value tonight, you know, and I'm going to stand in the value of what I have to say. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay. If I were facilitating this conversation face-to-face, I would have put together a discussion guide and gone around. After I've introduced myself, I'm going to want to know a little bit about the people in the room, right? You always want to check in with your audience. Right now, I don't know, there's 107 participants here. I know 2 of them. That's a little scary, right? That's a little scary because, you know, you want to know, you just want to make sure you don't stick your foot in your mouth, you know, that you know, like, you know, who's out there. I'm just going to assume I've got, you know, a room full of bright-eyed, you know, first-year students who are just really eager to learn. I have to imagine it because I don't have the benefit of having you in front of me. If you were in front of me, we would go around and we'd spend a little time to really, you know, get to know each other. So I would maybe start with a sentence starter. And, you know, so tell me your name, tell me a little bit about yourself, and I'd go around the room and then I'd have them put me in the context, explain to me who they are in the context of whatever it is I'm trying to learn right now. So here I'm with Reinhardt students. So I would say to all 105 of you, so, okay, give me a, you know, just give me a flavor for how school's going for you right now. So tell me the best part of school. Well, that's going to take, you know, 2 minutes per person, right? Or maybe I would just choose one, maybe the most challenging part of school. What's your favorite class? What's your biggest fear? So a lot of it's to warm up. It's to get you talking because facilitating is not about me. It's about you. Okay. So, and this is kind of a goofy, I'd love to do some more, you know, exchange in this regard, but this forum doesn't allow for that type of thing. Find me and look me up again in COM 230. Okay. We'll go into more detail and we'll actually have some fun with it. Okay. So go to the next slide. So Dom and I worked together just to put together a little bit of a survey. I'm wanting to know, what is your element? So if you know your sign, your zodiac sign, if you're an Aries, a Leo, a Sagittarius, you're fire. If you are Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, you're water. If you are, I can't see what's behind it. Okay, what am I? Aquarius, who's air? Here, let me just do mine. There we go. There you go. If you are Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, you're air. If you're Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, you're earth. And so Dom is going to just wait until it kind of, you know, y'all have a chance to put in your, answer your poll.
A few more votes, folks. I only have about 60 votes. I know there's 105 of you, so we'll give it a little bit longer.
We'll give it a little bit longer. When we get to like 75 or so, I mean, you can't wait for everybody. Sometimes if we were doing presentations online and I'm trying to, you know, get a roll going and engage my audience, who I can't see, by the way, right? I want to get to a point where I go, okay, I got enough of you to have this conversation and keep this thing moving. So where are we at now, Dom?
We are at 67. Oh, 68, almost 70.
Anybody else? You know, we don't want to cut you short if you're going, well, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, just pick I don't know if you don't know.
If you don't know, just, yeah, go ahead and.
All right, let's see here. Share results.
Okay, so, well, we have just a little bit of everybody in the room. Okay, so we've got, it's so balanced. So I'm looking at, right? So I don't know how to, so here's the thing. And this was just meant to be sort of a silly, friendly little bit of a warm up, but so Dom shares the results. And now as somebody who's asked you for information as your facilitator, I need to do something with it. So sometimes, like say if you're going to give a speech and you start with a poll and you go, okay, that's interesting. And then you move on. You want to anticipate how people will answer, right? So I should already have a script ready in my mind to say, okay, we have a little bit of everybody, right? And so maybe I'll give you a couple of the high points. So we've got the fires in there. So I'm going to speak to all of my fires who have that strong, passionate emotion, all of my waters who are sensitive and intense, and all of my airs who are ideas and creative people. I'm an Aquarius. Shout out to my 23% of air signs out there, right? That's it. So the only point I wanted to make with this poll is to let you know too, when you're facilitating in a one-dimensional environment as we are on Zoom, yeah, you use tools like this to engage your audience and then do something with the data. Don't just sit on it and move on. Just talk to us a little bit about it and tell us why you decided to hold that poll. If you go to the next slide, I'll tell you why I decided to hold that poll. So I think, you know, something like that is, it's fun. Right? I asked a question now that it didn't really forward. We're not trying, there's no real objective of our conversation today. So it's a little bit of a throwaway other than a warm up. I get to know you guys. We had a little bit of fun. If we had a real objective, then, you know, I might have asked a different question, but it's really meant to foster your engagement. And then I also need to create a safe space. So it's not just the Julia show. It's the Julia plus every 106, oh, I lost somebody, it was 107, now it's 106, right? So it's all the rest of you guys. We're all in this together. We are creating a community. So when I say create a safe space, every single person, every bit of energy in this room, right? We need to hold together as a unit. We need to all be on that same page. Hit the next slide for me. Okay, so, 34 minutes to go. Okay, so this discussion guide, I started with this a little bit. So I actually wrote a guide and then I was not going to use PowerPoint. I was just gonna talk to you guys straight to camera. And then I realized I probably had too much information. It was gonna be hard to follow. So I wrote a PowerPoint slide as well. Usually if I'm facilitating something, I wouldn't write a PowerPoint because it's just me and an intimate connection with my respondents or with my, you know, whatever, whoever's in that audience. Someone's going crazy on that slide. You're not liking that slide? we need to erase that. Okay, so I'll write a guide, and a guide is very much like, it's 5 pages max, just bullets, right? But it's my way to stay on track with each of the points that I want to make. Or each of the topics I want to cover, I should say, when I'm facilitating a conversation. Keeps me, so if I know I've only devoted 5 minutes to this section, after 5 minutes, move on. It means I've already decided there's other things later I need to get to, you know, so and then I need to allow more time for. And then it also lets me set expectations in the back room or for other people who are working with me on a project. A facilitator is just, you know, the channel, right? It's not all me and my ideas, right? So I'm going to be working with a team, and they need to know where we are in time, where this thing is going. Why are you asking those questions? You know, and I might go off script a little bit to probe deeper if I find something like really interesting nuggets of information as I'm learning. But you know, it's a general guide. So you're going to look at your discussion guide like a map. You don't read it, right? But I kind of know where I am in time. So the two things that are on my discussion guide, I have two big things I want to cover. I'm going to talk to you about the kinds of questions you could ask to be an effective facilitator. And then also the other big area that I probably won't get to tonight is the types of activities that you can do to provoke meaningful insights. I thought I took that out because I wasn't going to get to it, but interesting. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so how tonight's going to go. Big picture, tips, tricks, and traits of a facilitator. And then the second half of our conversation, or of this presentation, is going to be just some practical applications. Why am I telling you this? Because I'm sharing this with you. So it's so weird. I keep having to change hats, right? So I'm leading a presentation, and now I'm trying to tell you what my rationale is for doing this, right? But so follow my hats. So I'm telling you this because we're in it together. This is a shared journey, and I've learned this over 20 years of market research with men. So ladies, listen up. Here's an insight into men. Fascinating. And I promise you it is so true. So you leaning in, you got your notes? They just want to help. That's my insight. All that research, all that. I'm like the Brené Brown of marketing communications, I swear to you, right? So they just want to help. And so when I'm really clear at the start of my groups, especially if it's all male groups, I'm real specific on how this day is going to go. I just like, you know, there is no maybe this, maybe that, like, right out of the gate. And then they go, okay, great. Now they get it. They get the drill. There's two parts. We're going to spend 10 minutes on this, 50 minutes on this, and then we're going to wrap up that way. Awesome. And now they know how to play, right? I created this thing. Let me share specifically. And people know what their role is now, right? That's female too, but just in general, I find that to be super true for when I'm working with men. Okay, next slide. All right, top 10 traits of a facilitator. Half hour left. Okay. Like this, I got at this a little bit already, but this is a sacred space. Usually I have 2 hours of a conversation with 8 people in a room. So in 2 hours, I've got to get through my guide, get insights, write a report, know what I'm learning, and have it be beyond the obvious, right? So to make that room work, you can't let anything go awry, right? So it's so important to me to have a connection with all of my respondents. I will have clients in the back room after like a few groups, you know, they'll come in and they'll say, can you just speed it up? Can you just skip that first 10 minutes of introductions? It doesn't really feel that useful. You know, we just want to get to the content. And I think, oh, no. They always want to just skip right to the content. You can't do that. This is a relationship dynamic, right? It's not a survey. Facilitating a meaningful conversation is, like I said, it's that earned trust. It's very symbiotic. It's a relationship. And if I just like get right to the chase and start asking my questions, I've blown every opportunity to form that kind of a connection. So for me, hey, I don't know if I'll use that information later, but maybe knowing that you just have, you know, 2 newborn twins at home and you didn't sleep last night, something I could probe on later, maybe, or something I could understand about why you're nodding off and it's not me being boring, right? Or it's just something that's just going to work with me in understanding you, and our dynamic is going to be affected by that as a result. Moreover, and perhaps more importantly in a meeting situation, is that the respondents or the people in the meeting, they start to warm up and trust each other. This is the stuff I was talking about in terms of community. after a focus group discussion, I had people exchanging numbers and stuff because they learned about each other in that group. I have two quick stories here on how I learn everything by putting my foot in my mouth, or, you know, everything it falls apart. I mean, then I really get the idea, right? But so I had a client. This is not she did this, right? But I had a brand new client. She was a market researcher. And so she pulled together all of her key agency people. And I was the strategic lead at the brand agency. And then there was, you know, the digital agency and the point of sale agency and all the other groups that came together in a room. And so she was going to facilitate our first meeting together with her as our leader. And we sat down, lunch was ordered, we all had our little box lunch, and we all sit down, and somebody from another agency said, hey, do you think we should go around the room and just quickly introduce ourselves? And she said, no, I know everybody here. So I left that meeting and started working on my resume. Like, I can't work with someone like that. She was very hierarchical, like, right? Hey, Kevon, I see you there. Are you not muted again? Thank you, my friend. All right, so, right? So she just missed it. And we all felt like, ooh, and then it was really tense. And then we weren't building. We weren't really growing, or, you know, she didn't do a really good job facilitating that dynamic that's pretty organic. You know, ideas and how you kick around things. It's messy before it's neat. And so it was a real missed opportunity on her part. And so, so we just never really connected. I was a new moderator, so a brand new facilitator. I was just trained on how to do this. I'm super confident. I know everything. And so I went into, I was doing groups with women on the, women who were pregnant, and or planning to be pregnant within the next 2 years, how they choose a hospital network to have their children, to have their babies. So I did this, I had all these activities and collages and all these kind of fun things. And we went around the room and everybody introduced themselves. And one woman shared that she had been really trying to conceive. She had 7 miscarriages, and and the whole room went down, right? Oh my God, 7 miscarriages, right? So we have absolute concern. And she just said so. And I was like, hey, welcome, nice to meet you. Next. Okay, so I tried, and I was compassionate, of course, and I said, okay, you're okay. Yeah, she said, I'm okay to be here. Okay, good. And so I went around, we finished, and then I had a knock on my door. Remember the mirror? So someone could come around and pass a note, and it was one of my staff. And so she said to me, do you want me to poll her? And I said, no, she's fine. I asked. She said she's going to be okay. Because we're going to talk about pregnancy experience, generally a positive thing for most people. And I ultimately have to get to my objective of, like, how do you choose a hospital? But her head wasn't there. She wasn't the right person for this conversation. It would hurt her, or maybe not. She told me she was fine. So I told my my staff, and I said to her, I said, no, we're fine. What a mistake. And so I wasn't reading the room. So what started happening is I'm about, 10 minutes, 15 minutes into my conversation, I'm moving on, and everybody's energy was down. And so I'm over at the flip chart going, so what do you think about this? And no one had anything positive to say about pregnancy and about getting pregnant. Not a soul. Why? Because they were protecting that other gentle soul, that other woman who was grieving and suffering in her own way. And I was missing the point. I just missed it. And so that group, and it costs about $5,000 a group in general, you pay your incentives and you get them recruited. I don't know if I learned anything because I wasn't able to read the room, right? So I just wasn't getting it. So you have to really tune in and manage the space. I should have read the room in terms of other people in the room, other respondents. They were giving me signals like, I'm not going to answer your happy questions like this right now. And I was just too new in my job. I was just too new to know what to do. I should have actually listened to my colleague a little bit better than I did. So I learned the hard way, and felt terrible about it. So that's the sacred space is a really hard thing to educate people on, how to tune in, how to be empathetic, how to know, especially I was not on that same journey at that time. So I didn't understand it. So, I'm not that hard on myself. I mean, you have to learn, and you learn, and that was one I learned the hard way. Okay, let me try to go faster through the other top 10 traits. Okay, so we talked about that sacred space. Guys, be curious. The most important quality, I think, of anybody in my whole job, certainly, is being curious versus smart. So when I come in with all the answers already, have better questions. Have the thought to go, I wonder why that is, and what about this, or what that. I constantly am the one that's asking, I don't understand that. And I used to feel like it makes me look dumb. I should feel, my job title is strategic planner. I mean, it's in the title. I should be the smartest one in the room. I never am. Well, sometimes I am. But mostly I'm not, because I'm the most curious person in the room. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. We did that before. What else? What else? What else? What else? And I got 400,000 questions that's behind that. Okay. And that's because I'm an Aquarius and I have 400,000 questions behind it. No. But yeah, so like you're constantly wanting to be curious, and that's going to give you much better, interesting insights than you'll ever get by just studying what's been done before. Be present. How do you know you're not present? You say, oh, I've been in my listen. Our listening goes in and out and in and out all the time. Nobody is 100% present ever. We're not wired like that as human beings, right? You can't be. So just know when your listening goes out, uh-oh, my listening went out. Don't beat yourself up. It's because you're a human being. The fact that you just caught it, guess what? Now you're present. That's simple. Boop. Right? It's just that simple. So catch yourself and then bring yourself back. I'm back. Okay, good. Use silence. I use that in facilitating. Boy, we can just fill the space, can't we? Like right now, I'm just talking fast because I've got so much I want to share to you and not enough time. But use silence. Use it in your speeches. Use it to create some impact. Use it when you think something is precious and should be, considered more thoughtfully. I learned this in advertising. You don't fill up everything on the page. It's this beauty of white space. In facilitating, it is always about them. It is not about you. Always them, right? And you're facilitating them. So what you're trying to do, usually if I'm in a group situation, I'm trying to get you on a roll. I would like you to talk to you about disagree or agree or whatever, but I'd rather hear less of me, especially when my transcripts come back and it's like moderator, respondent, moderator. Oh no, my client's going to be very unhappy with this because they didn't pay to hear what the moderator thinks, right? They want to know that I'm pulling out interesting insights that they can do something with. We talked a little bit about empathy, and then validate. You're hearing things you might not agree. Oh no, your opinions they don't come in the room with you. You validate. You could totally disagree. You could be burning up on fire. And you validate. If that's a genuine thought, feeling, opinion of the person in front of you, okay, I understand what you're saying. Can you explain that more? Can you elaborate more? You could be provocative to a point, but you cannot be disrespectful. That is not your job. Tone. Tone is like just be the mirror. So if depends who I'm with, right? So if I'm in a culture where I wanted to, I'm not going to come with a tuxedo to a, COM 108 8 a.m. class because it's like, it's weird. It's just weird, right? You could just use some emotional intelligence to say, you want to kind of blend in a bit. So sometimes if I'm on a construction site, I'm wearing jeans with my camera and my microphone or whatever I'm doing, but I'm in jeans because that's, if there's not a one look, you want to mirror the situation. Adapt. That's one of the biggest things. I don't have time to tell you how much I love this idea, but you go in, you start learning something, and now you've got to move with it. It's a very organic process. I have yes and versus yes but. I actually went and studied at UCB Theater in New York. It's Amy Poehler's whole thing, right? So it's an improv kind of thing, but it's all about it's all about how do you build a scene. Somebody comes out with an idea and you agree with it, you build it, but you don't say, well, that's great. You know, there's no scene there. So to get 3 beats in a scene, you know, you have to start building on something, and everybody builds until the thing, you know, finds its way full circle. And then listen. If you hit the next slide there, Dom. Listen. Okay, good. I'm on time. How do you listen? What are we listening for? So we listen differently. We experience the data differently, depending what your agenda is, depending what your bias is, depending what your leanings is. We had, you know, so we call it confirmation bias, and the client, and I'm just using the client generically. This is if I'm working to get an objective to my client. They're listening to confirm kind of a hypothesis or what they kind of believe. So they're, say if I'm testing, you know, different stimuli, what do you think of this thing? They're trying to hear language in the, you know, they're from behind the mirror that, yeah, that language is going to work for my campaign. Oh, those respondents seem like they're onto something. This might not be the right thing, but they're generally very favorable about that particular idea that we've presented to them. Or, you know, how committed people are. So if I want to stretch my brand, I don't want to get into too much advertising thing, but, you know, do I have permission to go there or not? And sometimes people go, you know, you don't learn everything from respondents, but, you know, you have to listen to say, do we have permission to say this about ourselves? You don't bluntly ask it that way, but they're listening for that opportunity. Maybe I could charge more money. Are people open to that? So I'm always looking to, they're looking to like, whatever, come away from this research with something of value to them, right? So what am I going to do with this? And I have to go back to their jobs and do something with it, right? That's all okay by me. They are not listening incorrectly. They're listening with a specific agenda, and that's fine. As facilitators, however, that is not our job. We don't do any of that. We are not confirming our beliefs. No, I might test hypotheses, but I'm listening very differently in my groups. I have to make sure the dynamic is working. Remember that sacred space? I'm listening to influencers and real thought leaders coming out. I'm listening to dominators. Here's a trick. Here's a fun fact. I don't know if it's totally true. I was taught this 20 years ago. If you are running a focus group, the person who sits directly across the mediator, that's your dominator. Meaning they're super confident. They're going to be the talkers. They're going to be the ones that are going to like really dominate the conversation. You have to manage for that. You have to manage that they don't overshadow everybody else in the room. Now, sometimes I'll just say, so-and-so, you know, Dom, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to ask this next question to this side of the room. And I don't want to like call you out as the dominator. I called you Dom, the dominator. Right? But I don't want to call you out as that, but there's different little techniques. Sometimes, I've had respondents fall asleep on me because it's late and they're tired. So I say, you know, you can't do that. I'll get up and maybe I'll walk behind them and then I'll just start talking from another part of the room. And then they're like, oh, what's happening? And then they're, you know, it's just and you're subtle, you know, you just have to be subtle. So you never want to make people feel like they're breaking the rules or they're doing something wrong, you know, so we're trying to constantly just kind of bring us all along. So we're listening to 1,000 different, I can't really see the rest of my slides, so it's kind of being blocked. Let's see, so whatever, but I can't see that. So we're listening to all the data. Blah. We're trying to help the client make a good decision. But again, a lot of the listening is, how's this thing going? And you're tuned in, guys. You're so tuned in. So if you could hit my next slide. Okay, now I'm going to get into more of the practical. All right, so that's fine. Theoretically, I get it. Right? So practically, how do you even ask a question? There's actually, you know, over time, you will not like, look, I stuck my foot in it so many times, but I've been doing it for 20 years. You start to learn where you're better questions than others, right? So do you have this part in stock? If I ask a question that's super dead end like that, and I'm going to get a yes, no, cool, do a survey, you know, but if you have people in front of you, get a richer kind of a conversation going so you can get better insights, right? So keep it really open-ended. How about this as an alternative question? Can you tell me about your new software program? You know, so that I could upgrade my, whatever it says behind the thing, I can't see. Right, please, can you tell me about whatever? Hit my next slide. Oh, I'm doing the avoid questions. Okay. All right, yeah, because I was talking about this. So dead ends, dead-ended open ends. Anything that boxes me into yes, no, then I've missed a huge opportunity to take that few minutes of time to really learn something about whatever it is I'm probing on. Leading questions. You like Buick, right? I guess. Well, you took me down that path, right? Loaded questions. So you for or against the death penalty? Oh gosh, and if you're talking, now remember, when you're talking to strangers, oh, be so careful. Oh, be so careful, right? Because you don't know where people are coming from. Even if you're in COM 108 and, you know, you want to have a strong AGO, attention getting opening, and you want to, you're doing a topic on drunk driving. And, you know, you throw something gratuitous, like something that, you know, isn't that, I mean, it's shocking. You know, you could do an image or something like that. You have to be really sensitive to that. You can upset people too, especially when they're strangers and you don't know their background. You don't know if someone in their family might have died in a car accident or someone. You have to be so thoughtful of what you're putting in front of a captive audience, right? That they haven't alienated or hurt, or even just one person. If you just start to lose one person, then you're doing a bad job, because that person is there because they matter. They matter to the community, right? So anyway, so just with loaded questions, there's a good answer. Okay, so then there's questions you can't interpret. Oh, I see this so many times in surveys. What's your favorite color, red or blue? Boop, let's do a survey. And people are gonna say, I mean, purple or yellow, but I guess blue. Okay, I got 50% said blue and 50%. Yeah, because you boxed them in. That's not their favorite color. You forced them to say something. So careful, you know, that it's interpretable and that you know what you can do with it. Confirmation bias, we all listen for that anyway. I think because we're wired that way. Here's a thing. And this is what I'm going to take you into next in the last 10 minutes or so we have together, which is, you know, how can you get better then? How can you ask really important, good quality questions? The trouble is most of us have a very limited probe repertoire. Okay, so these probes have been in our business as facilitators since the 30s. They are. So I'm not trying to put myself into it, right? I'm trying to learn from you. Help me understand, blah, 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 blah. Tell me more about that. Please expand on that, right? So these are the basics. We're all trained with that. That's just kind of, if you were to sit in the back room of many, many different, you know, focus groups, you're going to hear a lot of the same kind of style and the same kind of thing. Hit the next slide. But you can ask better questions. So you want to go for that stellar probe as your base question. So you don't want to really start with that yes, no, and then there's a follow-up and blah, 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 blah. Again, this is over time. You'll start to hear where you want to go next and you'll get there quicker. But think about journalism school, or if you haven't been to journalism school, I mean, who, what, where, when, how, right? These are good. And why? Why is a little bit, the person who trained me, Naomi Henderson at RIVA Institute in Bethesda, hates why. She's all anti why. A lot of this is her thinking too. It's coming through me. Yeah, she's like 2-year-olds say why. So you want to really craft the better question. Anyway, if you put words in front like can you or do you or other question starters, it's got a kind of dead end. You know, so when did you have your last birthday? Where did you celebrate your birthday? Who was at your party? How old are you? If it's appropriate, not always appropriate. So now when I start there, it's going to let me get into a deeper conversation immediately, and I can get below the surface. That's my job as a good facilitator. If it's just, if anybody can just ask questions and facilitate and just, oh, yep, this is what we learned. Careful, right? You want to get underneath, you want to get something that's, germane, but, takes you somewhere new. Hit the next slide. Eight minutes. Okay. So great questions give you access to better insights. Here's another fun one. On the left, the bad question, very common in my business. On the right, the better question. So what popped into your head when you saw Poland Springs black cherry seltzer? What popped into your head? The thing is, for most people, nothing popped into their head. I don't know, you just showed it to me, right? And then that's not because they're not smart or anything. That question is already leading. Alternatively, and I've done a lot of work in fast food, right? So what did you eat yesterday? First of all, I have a hard time remembering what I ate yesterday. And why did you choose that? Why did I choose that burger at Wendy's? Well, it was convenient and it was inexpensive. You're going to learn that kind of thing that's going to give you no information, right? So people don't have access to their own truth. They don't think that way. It's just kind of habit, right? So how do we get them to go into the well and reach deep and figure out, to bring it into their own awareness? Oftentimes I'll do intercepts, if it's fast food. I'm that obnoxious person that I've done this many times, normally not in my own neighborhood, so people don't recognize me. So anyway, you don't mind if I videotape you? Can I just ask, why did you order that? And when it's right in front of them at IHOP, I used to do that. Why are you here? Well, now they're in the moment. They have way more access to language. Plus they get point. I love that syrup and I love that. And that was the promotion that brought me in. You're helping them. The environment is helping them access something deeper in their own truth. If I call them on the phone, I'm not going to get, I was hungry. My friend wanted to go there. We like that place. You're not going to get anything. So here's a cool probe. Here's a cool question. Let's see if I can. So what did you say to yourself? Okay, I show you this. And I asked you the question. I need everybody to answer this question tonight. Poland Spring, seltzer, calorie-free water. So what did you say to yourself when that person asked you to talk to you about that water? You're going to get into this thing called self-talk. That's where our things are starting. That's where the access to the insight is. So we're always in our heads. There is always something behind there. It's not necessarily a thing I'd politely say in public, but without a blink, if you get people to get at their own self-talk. So for example, have you guys ever been to, this is rhetorical, I'm not going to actually take a poll, but have you ever gone to ladies especially, you go to the Nordstrom's and you want to go to the back and you're heading for the shoes and somebody's standing there with that perfume bottle and they're ready to spritz you. Would you like to try the sample of Armani perfume? And you think, you say to them, no, thank you so much. I'm heading over here. Maybe I'll catch you on the way out. You have no intention whatsoever to having that stuff sprayed on you on your way out. But politely, because we're all part of polite society, we're not going to say, get it. We're going to say, no, thank you. No, thank you. Not now. Maybe on the way out. And it's not even true. I'm not even thinking that way. If I asked you, what did you think when you first saw that woman with the spray bottle? You're going to get some real truth coming out in the focus group, right? People put their hands on their hips. Oh, no, you don't. You come near me with that stuff, right? You're going to get some attitude. You're going to get some emotion. You're going to get a lot more heart. I'm not just but I'm learning something that's really deeper. And it's more fun because I've taken it off of you and I've put it into this whole fun space where everybody's doing, you know, kind of sharing what's that thing that we normally don't say. I've given you permission to kind of not be so polite. In fact, polite doesn't get me anywhere. Never. We're all polite. I'm trying to get truth. I'm trying to get something I can do something with. Okay, so if you hit the next slide. I just tried to wrap. See, how did I do? 3 minutes to go. Whoa! And the only way you really learn this stuff, guys, is you start listening to your own questions and check in with your own curiosity. Am I not curious about this? Start there. Start with curiosity. The questions will come.